No more secrets.
Yes.
No more secrets.
Well, fewer secrets.
Fewer secrets.
Different secrets.
Reduction of secrets.
I think we should charge for a recording of the part of the show before we go on air.
Francois, we know Friday is not ideal, but you know what? Some people in España are on airplanes and couldn't do Thursday. Don't sass me.
I actually
Why are you like the dad of the chat right now?
No, I just felt like it. I just sudden like
don't make me turn this podcast around.
Sudden daddishly urge. Oh, yeah, nobody's gonna watch because it is on Friday. I am well aware of that, which is fine.
Most people listen to it after the fact anyway.
I'll watch.
I'm here. I may as well. The social thing. So I was figuring what we just do is go through the MWC stuff. And there's we've got a bunch of other random articles that aren't about phones.
Yeah, I was wondering how much else there was.
There's quite a bit. We've got 32 posts for MWC this year, so
yeah.
There's Google Assistant, obviously. There's Oppo's crazy zoom lens thingamajigger.
Oh yeah, that was
that's pretty weird. Sony announced a phone that no one will buy and will cost much too much money.
Sony.
Fucking Sony. And let's see, what else do we have here? We got Huawei stuff. We got LG stuff. Moto announced a G5 and G5 Plus, and then some fucking weird mod concepts. I don't know. And Samsung's tablets, which honestly,
that's just because you just hate tablets.
Yeah, but they aren't even that exciting as tablets. They're just kind of tablets. They do tablet things. No.
I mean, that's the description for any tablet.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
They're just their tablets. They do tablet things. It's like you're like, no, that's a dog. It does dog things.
I mean, I guess, but Android tablets are like crappy dogs. They're not very good.
Android tablets are like the crappy dogs. I wish that we were still doing inside joke titles, because that would be a good title.
Yeah. Yeah, we had yeah, it looks like there's a BlackBerry phone. We can talk about that.
Oh, BlackBerry.
Oh, BlackBerry.
BlackBerry credits. Somehow, many years after we should have stopped talking about them, we're still talking about them.
It's true. All right. I think, I have a good idea of what we want to do here. All right. So I'm going to start recording. Test. 1, 2. Oh, no, that's not working. The video call ended because the computer went to sleep. I have never seen that dialogue in Hangouts before.
It's a feature.
It's almost like really Google doesn't pay attention to Hangouts.
That's so weird. I've never had that happen. Let's try recording again. Test. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay. I think we're good. The computer definitely is not going to sleep. The computer's awake. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't turn off again randomly. That would suck.
I have to change one of my habits. I'm so used to using the mute button on my mic. A weird spot, so.
Now it's really far away.
Well, no, actually it's closer, but it's higher up. So,
all right.
Yeah, for listeners, I have moved to a boom mic.
All right. And I guess I'll restart the recording because that's just a bunch of useless garbage.
Useless garbage, which, by the way, we should sell to people. This whole pre-show thing, I think it's a saleable concept.
There's actually a lot of podcasts where they specifically do either pre or post shows as separate episodes, and those are the more popular
bonus content.
recordings.
Yes, I'm sure there are such things.
Are we doing a product thingy?
Ooh, yes, but not live because I forgot. It doesn't really matter live anyway.
Yeah, they're like 5
I guess
people.
I can plug it right now. Let me go ahead and look at the copy here. Sorry, this is really professional of me, isn't it? Okay. So this week's sponsor is actually Mobile Dev and Test. If you're a developer and you want to go to the Android conference, Mobile Dev and Test is happening. It's such a date. I am unsure what the date is.
They're getting their money's worth. This is good.
Definitely. It's April 24th to 28th. I lied. So that is the date. If you use the code MDT17AP, that's M as in mother, D as in dog, T as in top, 17AP, you'll save $200 off your registration. Just go to well.tc/mobile-dev. That's well.tc/mobile-dev. Thank you to Mobile Dev and Test for sponsoring the podcast. And I promise I'll do a better job of the actual recorded show plug. Hopefully. Okay. So I think otherwise we're ready then. Welcome to the Android Please podcast. I don't know what really we are going to turn the intro into. I still haven't gotten that far. I've been in Spain for like a week now, and my brain's definitely not ready to come up with a new intro. But I'm David Ruddick.
I'm Liam Spradlin.
I'm Ryan Whitwong.
And I'm Cody Toombs.
Yes, as Scott says, AP stands for Always Prepared, which we are most definitely not. So, in the past week, obviously, there's been a little thing going on called Mobile World Congress, or MWC, which I have been at with one of our video producers, Facundo Holzmeister, trying to create some hashtag content for you that we hope you enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed this hashtag content. Please join the conversation. But there were some phones and other things at MWC. So I think we should probably start with the obvious, that being LG's new phone, which was probably the standout product of the show by virtue of LG's bigness and the lack of the Galaxy S8, which is the LG G6.
Yes.
So me and Ryan both have G6s. Oh, you have a black one?
It looks like a surprised robot, like
It
all
really does.
LG phones lately.
It does. Do you have the black one? Is that the black
yes.
one? That one is like super fingerprint magnet.
It is. Yeah, it really is.
It is uber fingerprint magnet. I have the silver one, which is less fingerprint magnety, but also like I don't really love the way, this is really nitpicky, but I don't love the way in the sun the silver is highly reflective on the front, so you get this very shiny bezel around the screen. It's a little weird. But what are your thoughts on the phone so far, Ryan?
You know, I mean, it's the best phone LG's made in a few years, but I don't know if it's going to be better than the Galaxy S8. I mean, I don't know that there are going to be a lot of people that look at this phone next to the Samsung phone that comes out in a month and a half and say, I'm going to buy the LG one. Like, it doesn't really have a selling point, especially now that you can't take the battery out. Like, there are still some diehard removable battery people.
But Ryan, you can charge it wirelessly if you're in America.
So it's exactly the phone that was leaked. Like, we knew pretty much exactly what it would look like before it came out. The display, you know what though? I noticed the renders that came out looked like the rounded corners on the screen. They looked a lot smoother than they do in real life. Like it was unrealistic, the renders, and it actually kind of bugs me that like the screen still has corners. It actually kind of has more corners. It's got 8 corners now.
Yeah, it's the octagon.
Because each curve is like, it's not a tight enough curve to actually shear off the entire like corner of the screen. So you have like 2 little almost corners.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange how they did that. I don't know what the limitations there are. I am not a screen rounding expert.
Is it possible to show this on camera? Because
I mean, it's pretty hard to see. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of make it out. Not really. It actually looks perfectly round on the webcam.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's hard. Man, it's
Ryan's you can tell. Yeah, Ryan's you can see like those little tiny spots. Yeah, it's like
points.
Yep.
It's like it seems like such an easy thing for them to not get wrong, but they got it wrong.
I don't know how easy it is. I mean, maybe that's a hard thing to do. I'm not sure.
It's just the bezel, right? Like the panel has corners.
Yeah,
and it's
I
just
assume so.
over top of it. Like you could just like whatever's cutting the bezel, like you just make it more round.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I didn't ask them about this because I didn't really think about it at the time. We did a briefing with LG at MWC, but I will say that even as the pixel cheerleader that I am, the reduced bezels do make it more compact. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for a phone that has a 5.7-inch screen, it is very comfy in one hand.
It is, and I mean, so when we say we're gonna have to start redefining what a phone's screen bigness is, because this is screwing everything up when we change the aspect ratio.
Yeah. So this is 18:9, I think.
This is 18:9, and so actually the display is no wider than last year's phone. I don't think. If it is, it's just very marginally.
Yeah, so
actually, I think it might be the same.
Like
so the phone itself is narrower.
It's like a lot taller than other screens.
Yeah. So the thing about this phone compared to the G5, it's actually narrower than G5 and shorter than the G5 while having a display that is longer, which doesn't make any sense. But then you think about the bezel reduction and the fact that the display is longer, not any wider, because of the aspect ratio change, and starts to come into focus why that is. So while we say it has a 5.7-inch screen, what we're really saying is it has like a 5.3-inch screen that has been stretched out vertically to add some extra space, if we were judging by a 16:9 format. Now we could just start measuring displays based on their square, their actual area, which would make sense.
I would be in favor of that, like square centimeters of screen.
Yeah, and I guess the other interesting argument is, and I'm sure Liam has some thoughts on this, is when you switch to an 18:9 aspect ratio, there's so much content out there that's in 16:9 and has been designed for that. Obviously, Apple has the opposite problem with 4/3, where you have content cutoff. But in 18:9, you run into the issue of black bars.
Yeah, there's a whole menu in the settings to change the scaling for apps, which is just confusing. And I don't even know. Like, it actually pops up a notification to tell you to do this, which I don't know if they'll keep that in the final version.
Is it changing like the display density or what?
It is. Let me see. It just changes the scaling of individual apps. So it like the default is 16.7:9, which I assume because of the navigation keys, and then you can also just set it to 16:9 or to 18:9.
Oh, so you can make it force away the nav keys,
I guess,
which is very weird. And then there's a compatibility view for apps that I guess don't properly. Is that part of fragments where apps are able to like expand their size a little bit in order to fit a stranger aspect ratio or screen configuration?
I would think that the parent layout would just fill the available space.
Yeah, I can't think of an app that would like have an issue with that unless it's just a straight iOS port.
Yeah, and I mean that's ostensibly one of the benefits of this aspect ratio is that like vertical lists and things like that, you would see more stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the default setting you should, but I mean, if for some reason you need to force an app to be 16:9, you can do that, and I guess it just crops weird, but it's an option.
Yeah. It's interesting. I guess so. So the thing that was like really weird to me is that during their presentation, LG tried to say how like 18:9 aspect ratio will be a thing, and that video content makers want to use 18:9, and it's like, well, why? Why didn't we all have like 70 millimeter like pan vision TVs then? Why wasn't that a thing?
Yeah, I mean, TVs are 16:9, and I don't know that I'm ever really that concerned with a little bit of a black bar when I'm watching video on a phone. Like the phone is like, a foot away from my face. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I don't think the black bar is a big deal either. It's just one of those things that I think stood out a little bit. Some people have pointed out. The phone itself, we don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know exactly when it's going to come out, but I think mid-April is the consensus for the US. I think it's actually going to be out in Korea this coming week.
Yeah, I think that they announced the price in Korea, and it was like if you translated like directly to US dollars, it was high. It was like 800 or something.
I would bet it's going to be 650 is going to be kind of where the median carrier price is going to sit for this phone.
Yeah, it would be hard to charge more for it because I'm sure that that the Galaxy S8 will be a similar amount.
Yeah, I would say if you were holding out hope that the G6 would be the affordable option to Samsung's phones, fat chance. That is exceptionally unlikely.
No, I mean they're not. I mean, as long as they're doing carrier deals as the primary way of getting the phones out there, they're not going to bother making them cheaper because the price difference when you're doing a payment plan is like $3 a month, and people don't care about that, but they do care if the phone like looks or feels cheaper because you wanted to make the price $550 instead of $650.
Yeah, I will say that this is the nicest feeling LG phone I have ever used. Like,
yes,
far and away.
It turns out that completely sealing the frame and making it a non-removable battery makes the phone feel a lot nicer.
Yeah, it is a very premium, very solid feeling. The back, as you know, is glass. It has a piece of like foil underneath it to give it a metallic look, which LG has succeeded in making look like plastic.
Yeah, no. When I first got it, I was like, wait, I thought this was supposed to be glass because it does look really plasticky.
It does. It really,
I don't know
really
if there's
does.
I don't know if Samsung like treats the glass that it uses differently, because like it does look a lot different when you have them side by side. Like the Samsung phone, like it looks like glass, but like LG's, like when you touch it, like it feels more solid than plastic, but it just has this sheen that's very like
yeah, maybe it's like
non-glassy.
blasted or something. I'm not
I don't
sure.
know. Or maybe it's just like something with like the foil they use to apply the color.
Yeah, possibly. It does look a little strange. I agree. I would say something I do like. There's no more camera hump, so you will not have the V20 glass destruction.
The shattered glass situation. It's the cameras are higher resolution now.
Yes, so actually, it was before that you got one that was 13 megapixel, which was the narrow angle, your primary one, and now before the wide angle was 8 megapixel. Now the wide angle is 13 megapixels. I don't think actually though that either camera has been upgraded from the 13 megapixel sensor that was used on the G5 and V20. They seem the same.
Are they? I thought that maybe it wasn't I thought the main one was 12 now, and it was like that newer Sony sensor.
Oh, maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought they were both 13 now for some reason.
But I'm gonna look.
I will say that the camera samples I've taken so far have the extremely typical LG quality to them, where like you zoom in to full crop and it's like somebody oil painted your pictures, which is unfortunate. I wish LG would stop doing that. I mean, it looks nice on social media because it forces everything to be really high contrast and poppy, but in a way it's a bit unnatural, I think. It's
okay, so the G5 was 16 megapixels, and the G6 is 13 for both sensors.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so that makes sense then.
Yes, it is. The pictures do look pretty similar to what you got from the G5. Like if you're familiar with LG's processing, it's pretty similar.
It is very reminiscent of that. The one I have, I think the one you have too, Ryan, it's a pre-production version of the US unlocked model.
Yes,
which doesn't work with the Android Pay, which is annoying. And the software is not final. So right now, the one I have at least, is running Android 7.0. LG says it'll launch with 7.1 in the US. Which is interesting.
They say they're going to have like final units soon, so I guess we'll find out whenever those show up what it actually runs.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, the hardware fit and finish wise feels good. I don't notice anything weird or bad about mine. No like backlight bleed issue, nothing like that. All of that seems good.
Yeah.
No weird reboots, and honestly, the software doesn't seem buggy or anything. I would just like Android 7.1 on there, so I know what the final.
You know what I've noticed? The camera crashes all the time.
Does it?
All the time.
I have not noticed that yet.
Okay, so we're gonna do a live test. So open your camera, and this is actually an opportunity to talk about like kind of a neat thing that it does. When you open the camera, and you know how on the one side it's got the film strip of the photos you've taken.
Yeah.
Tap on one of those. Does it not crash your camera?
Nope, doesn't crash it.
Okay, well, it crashes mine almost every time. But now that we're talking about that, so like, it's actually kind of an interesting way they take advantage of the bigger screen is, so you've got the camera viewfinder and the shutter button over on one side, and on the way other side, it's got a scrollable film strip of all the photos you've taken. So it's kind of a neat way to review your photos without opening the gallery app.
Yeah, the film strip thing is a nice addition. I agree. It's easier for sure than the standard little button you get that shows the most recent photo, like the size of a quarter of a postage stamp. That's not very helpful at all. This is definitely more helpful.
Yeah, I think there was supposed to be some other apps that had like extra stuff, like with the screen.
Oh, there's something with the weather app. Somebody is showing me that, and it's dumb. It doesn't. It's not. It's not actually useful. I think the main thing LG is saying is that some apps, like when you split screen them, you'll get more because it turns out to be a square aspect ratio when you're full screen and split screening. So you can have two apps in like full screen mode with the nav buttons hidden, and they're squares, which is good, I guess. I'm not really sure what their big point there was, but if you are somebody who enjoys using the multitasking button, there's that.
It's less painful on this phone than on other phones of this size.
Yes. Other than that, I haven't really noticed the larger aspect ratio much. It's the phone has this kind of same reachability as last year's phone because the phone's not any taller; it's actually shorter, so it's not any really harder to use, in my opinion, at least. And overall, I mean, it seems nice. I don't know anything about battery life yet. I haven't used it enough. And speed-wise, I want to wait for the final software.
Yeah,
right now, it's a little iffy.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I've tried to use it more or less full time since I got it, and the battery life hasn't been great. But pre-release software, it's hard to say if that's indicative of the final device.
Yeah, I agree. So hopefully with Android 7.1, they'll get everything ironed out. Granted, I will say this. It's LG, and every single time they've ever told me it's pre-production software, things will be fixed by the final release. They're almost never fixed. I've never witnessed that. So, grain of salt and all that. But when we review the phone, that will be heavily asterisked that it is on pre-production software, and we will update the review when the production software goes live. So I think I don't want to belabor the G6 too much because it's gotten so much attention in the last week anyway. Everybody's been talking about it.
So let's complain about the Huawei Watch 2.
Oh my God, this thing! I have it. It's here. The battery's dead because I just can't. I can't care.
No, just hold that up again because that thing is gigantic.
It's so thick.
That's ridiculous.
So it's a full millimeter and it's almost 1.5 millimeters thicker than the original Huawei watch. That is because the battery is much larger. It's 420 milliamp hours, and I think most people could at least get a day and a half out of it. I think if you're a light user, you could do 2 days with the always-on display on.
But it also has a much smaller screen.
You're correct. So 1.2 inches.
The bezel pops up above the surface of the screen.
It does. I would say this is a not nice watch to use. The screen is too small. The bezel raises too much above the corner or the edge of the display. So it's hard to swipe things away on the Huawei Watch 2 because you're constantly running up against the bezel and your finger, you figure, no, I'm going to stop before I hit the bezel. And then things don't swipe away. Also, that's probably because the software is buggy as shit right now on these preview units. It is bad. I don't really want to review it because it's broken. I have to reboot it twice a day. It's triple counting my steps in Google Fit. It's doing all sorts of weird stuff that it should not be doing. It randomly vibrates for notifications that aren't there. There's some really weird stuff going on.
Okay, that actually might be a Wear 2.0 thing, because I've gotten a couple of weird just sounds or vibrations, no reason whatsoever, no new notification, they just happen. I think it's just a bug.
The watch style has done that to me a few times too.
Okay, interesting.
All right. Notification stuff is just bonkers in Wear 2.0. I don't get what Google is doing.
I don't like notifications in Wear 2.0 at all. The other thing that they've done is, so they've kept pogo pins for charging. They did add a guidepost on the charger so that it goes on the right way. But the issue is, so it's a little hockey puck like before, but there's like a ridge on it, so the watch sits right. But so on the sporty version here, like the bands, they're rigid at the top, so you can't like lay it down. You have to put it like sideways on the side on the charger, which just seems like kind of janky. Like, why wouldn't you just make it a cradle then, like the Watch Sport?
The Sport has the same bands, which are terrible, but
yeah, this is a little more flexible at the top, but not a whole lot. It's still pretty rigid. And this does not have antennas in the watch band, by the way. These are fully replaceable. They just did it this way because they wanted to do it this way.
And it's and like they taper so much that if you put like third-party band on there, it's going to look super weird, right?
Yeah. You would have to have one that is specially made to have this, like, so I'll try to show you on the camera here for those of you watching the video. You've got to see how this lug insert is on the strap here. So this little piece of plastic that goes above to hide in the lug space. You'd have to have that on your replacement band if you wanted to use that.
That's just
otherwise it looks strange.
I don't know why they would do that.
They're also 20 millimeter bands, so any replacement band you put on there is going to look ridiculous. Because the upshot is the battery lasts a long time comparatively, and there is a better looking version, the Classic. So I think I don't think America is getting any of the LTE versions. That's what somebody was telling me. Maybe that's wrong. Huawei seems to be always changing their plans about these watches. The Classic version has a bezel that doesn't have those like weird like sporty ridges on it. It's just a smooth piece of metal. Granted, it still raises above the display the same amount. The display is still small. The watch is still the same thickness. But it does have a leather band, and the bands are standard 22 millimeters, and they don't have any weird lug inserts that need to be thought about when you're working with third-party replacement bands. So the Classic is unabashedly, if you want this for some reason, the one you want. We don't know how much it costs,
but it's still super thick.
It is still super thick. It's unfortunately thick.
I really feel like Huawei just got lucky with the first Huawei watch. Like they designed something that was super simple because they're like, look, we don't know how to design watches. Let's just not do anything crazy. And they ended up creating something that was actually kind of elegant and attractive. And then they got full of themselves. They're like, all right, let's design a cool watch this time, guys. And it's just an overwrought mess.
I also kind of get the feeling that making watches that are like sportier is just kind of like, we can fit more components in here because sport watches are already huge. So let's just also make it huge.
Yeah. It's like sports, they're so big sports.
And smartwatches are just in general too big. I mean, like when the default size for a watch, like the Gear S3, like they only make the one size, and it's pretty gigantic. Like it is a large men's watch. Like if you don't like pretty big watches, then this would be just obscenely large. And that's just sort of like, I don't know, like everybody seems to think like, oh, we just need to put all these things in it so people will buy it. But like, this is something you have to strap to your wrist. And if it's big and awkward, like people aren't going to care.
Well, I'm having Samsung send Cody the S3 Frontier, the LTE version, to compare to the Watch Sport and stuff. So I'm going to be interested what his thoughts are. The S3 is much more dinner plate than Watch. It is immense. Having seen one in person a few times.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're like a real watch person, like it's the size of like the largest regular watches you can buy.
Yeah,
like if you look at like the measurements.
Most stores that like, you'll find a couple of absurd ones that go much bigger, but yeah,
I mean, like it's ginormous. It's like it covers like my entire like wrist width. Like I have small wrists, and it's like it's bananas.
Yeah, it's kind of men's chronograph.
Unfortunately,
with a shot of Johnny Walker.
Not like a super big person, but the Watch Sport is pretty large on my wrist. But
yeah,
the thickness of that watch is the problem, though.
Yeah, it doesn't look ridiculous on me, but it's at the top end of what I could possibly wear.
Yeah, I think the Gear S3 is substantially thinner, though. I don't think it's nearly as thick.
It is a lot thinner than.
Yeah, which I think will offset the effect.
Yeah, like it's tolerable to wear. Like I mean, it is a little bit like flattened out, kind of like LG's watches are, where the lugs don't dip down far enough, so you're left with like gaps where the band sort of connects. There are like gaps next to your arm. At least if you have small wrists, there are. so it's not super comfortable for me. But yeah, but it's not. If it were thicker, it would be substantially worse.
So back to close out the topic of the Huawei Watch 2. Don't buy it. Just don't. It's a bad idea. It's a bad smartwatch. I don't know what Huawei was
NFC,
thinking.
right?
It does have NFC. That's nice, I guess. There's seriously so few things like it has this secondary button here, and all it does is launch the Huawei like fitness app activity. That's all it does.
You can't configure it or anything.
I think eventually maybe you'll be able to, but like right now, it's all it does, and it just feels, you know, it feels like such a half-assed product. Like Huawei was like, you know, I think what their directive was basically, we need to make this new one way cheaper, guys, because the original one was nice.
But like, what if they're like, okay, we made this new one way cheaper, but we're actually going to charge the same amount for it. We just want more money.
I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen, honestly.
Wait, what is the packaging like?
The packaging is much less nice.
Oh, really?
Because the original Huawei Watch had really nice packaging.
Like
yeah, I was going to
velvety
say.
box, and it had like the faux leather interior. That was crazy.
This is much more bare bones. Trust me on that. Actually, some of the review units they gave out apparently of the Huawei Watch, they had manuals that were just blank. You just pasted them, and the pages are all blank, which is outstanding. Mine did not have a blank manual in it. I was kind of sad when it didn't, because I wanted to do that. I wanted to hashtag social media that content, but or that lack of content. So the version I was given is the LTE version. I will be attempting to review it. No promises. Like, the software is not done. It is actually physically a prototype watch. It has this. I'm not gonna try to show you on the video because it'd be dumb, but it says on the back of the watch here, Studiously Studio Co. Limited, Meow Meow 3.
What?
Yeah, so it's basically like a prototype tracking mark, so they know that you have it. Also, I had to beg for this thing at MWC, so they were ready to give me a P10, and I was like, why am I not getting a watch? Because everybody else is getting a watch, and I felt very left out at that point, obviously. And I was like, no, guys, we'll write about it. We'll write a review. Lots of people will read it. And the guy's eventually like, all right. And he gives me the watch. And
it's probably like his personal watch or something. He just wanted you to go away.
He did want me to go away. He was very tired. I pressed him multiple times to get that watch. Don't ever say I don't endeavor to do my job with perseverance. So yeah, it's going to be probably, if I do a review, it's going to be bad. It's just, it has so many downsides.
I mean, maybe we should just wait for the final one.
Maybe we should. I mean, I would like to wait maybe for the classic. Maybe I'll do like a pre-review, a mini review, a quick thoughts, all of which are bad. Bad thoughts. So yeah, that is the Huawei Watch 2, a product that you should probably ignore unless somebody discovers that, like, I don't know, it cures cancer. Until then, probably something that you don't want to buy. As far as other MWC news goes, we'll switch over to something, you know, a little more googly that was announced at MWC. Even it wasn't strictly an MWC thing. Google Assistant is out for everybody with Android 6.0 Plus. So that started rolling out today, right?
Yesterday, I think.
Yesterday. Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know if it's actually, is it actually hitting devices?
I don't know. I feel like we got a tip from somebody saying they had it in Germany.
Interesting.
I'm not sure though. So I'm curious if the whole thing with the international thing, like if it does what Google said it would when they launched Assistant in October at the Pixel, where it's actually sending your voice transcript to Google Translate, translating to English, sending it to the Assistant, and then sending the results back down in your native language. Because it's pretty tricky if that's how they're doing the multi-language support. Because that's actually, I mean, if you talk to people like in Korea, like LG, Google's voice transcription for Korean sucks. It doesn't like work well at all. So having the ability to use Google's Translate engine to power the Assistant would potentially make it a lot better if it works well.
Yeah. how much? I mean, I think we talked about Assistant a couple of weeks ago, but
We did.
how much are you guys using it? Like, does it change your life?
Not too much. Not more than Google Now did.
I wouldn't call it life changing. It's neat. Obviously, with Home, I use it more than I ever did with the phone. But
Yeah, same. It also sends me nice quotes on Allo, which is great.
You're still using Allo. That's impressive. You know, like my primary use case for Assistant so far has been if this then that recipes. That's been pretty handy.
Yeah, I do not use if but I can see why that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just sort of the general like the better voice recognition is going to be the thing people notice most when they get Assistant. Also, no more Google Now on tap or screen search, whatever they were calling it. That's
well, you still have screen search, right? You hold the Assistant button and then you scroll
kind
up.
of sort of. It doesn't do nearly as many things. Like it's basically all that stuff that Google frantically added to on tap over the last year to try and make it a thing people wanted to use. It's all gone. Like it just does the very basic, like, is there an address on your screen?
Yeah. And I never even remember to use it for that.
yeah, me neither.
I just try to tap the address, and if that doesn't work, then I just copy paste it. I've never actually thought to use Assistant to do that. Might be helpful. So that'll be rolling out to all Android 6.0 plus devices, supposedly, which is nice. In other MWC news, I think there was one phone that actually got probably more page views on AP than even the G6, and you can't buy it now. There's not really a good idea of when you'll be able to buy it, and nobody has any idea what it will cost, even though it will probably be very, very expensive. And that is the Sony XZ Premium, which I don't understand.
I don't know why anybody is excited about it. When was the last time Sony made a phone that was actually worth being excited about?
Or more accurately, when did Sony make a phone that was worth the obscene amount of money Sony was charging for it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm sure they'll want like $800 for this.
So the rumor around the campfire is that Sony was setting people's expectations closer to 900.
That would be insane. And I'm sure in the US it won't have a fingerprint sensor because Sony.
Yes, there are IP issues apparently at play there.
Like how is Sony, one of the largest consumer electronics companies in the world, unable to work something like that out when every other OEM has figured it out?
Yeah, I don't know. There are some good articles. There's one on Android Central that is worth reading, I think, about the whole situation and the speculation around it, because Sony refuses to comment. They flatly refuse to tell anybody why they do this. But there's some good informed speculation out there on the subject that is worth reading, I think.
Yeah, but so I mean, this looks like a very attractive phone. Like the physically, as far as Sony phones go, I think it looks nice.
Yeah, and so it has a 4K screen, right? Which is pointless. Just throw that out there.
I think just like that. I forget which one it was. Like, was it the G5 Premium that had the 4K screen? I reviewed it a while back.
Yeah, the Z5 Premium. Yeah.
I'm sure just like that, it'll probably render at a lower resolution.
It's not rendering in 4K.
Well, hopefully this time it'll render at like 1440p, because with that phone, when it rendered at 1080p, so you couldn't actually stream YouTube at higher than 1080p because the phone's like, I don't have that resolution.
Yeah, and it's an LCD, so you can't do VR with it in 4K anyway. Not that a mobile chipset could handle 4K VR at this point, but if it could.
I mean, it would need like a water cooler.
Yes. Well, it probably also just need more raw headroom at this point right now. So as somebody in chat points out, it does have HDR. So the thing to remember about HDR is this: it's only for videos that have HDR. It's not for your like UI. It's not like your UI is rendered in Dolby Vision.
And I imagine it will only work in Sony's proprietary video player app.
I wouldn't know about that. I don't know what the status of like hooks in Android is for support for that yet.
I would
bet it'd be based on Qualcomm.
I'm based that entirely on, with the Z5 Premium, the only way you could get 4K content to play was if it was in Sony's special app.
Yeah, that's dumb. That is unabashedly stupid.
And this is Sony, so
yes. Yes. So the scuttlebutt is that Sony basically kind of like so the official answer is we don't know how much it'll cost, and it comes out sometime in Q2. What I heard was more like it's coming out in June and it's going to cost like $900. So
yeah,
like
I mean,
they just announced it now because they knew that they could say they were the first Snapdragon 835 phone.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like Snapdragon 835, and we know that the Galaxy S8 is supposed to be the first device on the market that you can buy that will have the 835.
It's supposed to be by far the first device on the market.
Because apparently they bought all of the first run of that chip, so that's why nobody else has it. So maybe Sony will have to wait until June to even have enough of them to make phones.
Yeah. So I think that phone will probably be irrelevant. I know there's a lot of interest in it, but market-wise, it won't be relevant, and just by nature of its price.
Especially in the US, it's just going to be not worth it.
I mean, I can't see it really being successful anywhere. But so the final big phone announcement.
Hold on, really quick, real-time follow-up. HDR video playback is officially in initial support in Android 7.0.
Oh, great.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's there and it's limited. I'm still trying to kind of figure out what the limitations are.
I guess maybe it just is related to the chip.
Maybe it's just limited to HDR10 because Dolby Vision is a proprietary codec. So that would make more sense. I think HDR10 is like an industry standard.
I think there are a couple more. Not that it matters all that much. It looks like right now, but what it's basically saying is if the codecs on the phone support it, you can do it in your app. That's about it. You can't really do much more than that. But hey, that's something. App developers can do it. So
yes. So the final big phone announcement out of MWC was Motorola and the G5 and G5 Plus, which I think, they look good. Well, the G5 Plus does. The regular G5 looks good, but we're not getting it in America, so it doesn't really matter over here. But I think the G5 Plus had some areas where it didn't evolve that maybe we hoped it would a little bit, such as the USB port, which is still micro USB.
Yeah, that's an annoyance.
I asked a Motorola product person about this, and they said that the main reason is that in emerging and developing markets where they sell this phone, that they wanted to make sure that users could use their old cables.
I mean, just include an adapter.
Yeah, adapters can break. What was told to me.
So can the janky old micro USB cables people have been using for 5 years.
They can. So I can kind of empathize with them on this choice, where I can see where like.
I'm sure there are probably manufacturing reasons for this, but I don't see why they couldn't make the regular G5 micro USB and the G5 Plus USB-C.
That would actually probably make more sense. That I do agree with. The other thing is that, annoyingly, the G5 Plus won't have NFC in America, but it will everywhere else.
Oh, wait, really? I hadn't heard that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Why? Why?
Because people in America don't want it. We don't want it.
People have never wanted NFC more than they want it now.
I mean, it's probably true that in the other countries where they sell the G5 Plus, NFC sees much higher rates of use, just because contactless payments. The United States is very far behind everybody else. But doing a separate SKU just to remove the NFC coil seems annoying.
Is it physically removed, or is it just disabled inside?
Okay, I asked a product person about this, and he said it would be pointless. Motorola would not just disable a feature in software to do it. Now, he did not say that he knew for sure that there wasn't one in there.
Because didn't Huawei do that with the 6X?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know.
And that's what I talked to him about. Was like, so did you guys do that? Or and then I think that these phones, industrial design wise, just look like Lenovo products. They have a bat wing on them, but they look very Lenovo-y.
So some of the leaks of this phone, they had like this weird Lenovo logo on the edge. Did any of the actual units have that?
I didn't see that anywhere.
Okay, maybe that might have just been like a temporary thing while they were messing around.
Yeah, it might have been some kind of engineering watermark.
Also, it looks like Motorola has unpublished all of their YouTube videos for this phone. So
Really?
yeah, they're all dead.
That's strange.
That is so yeah. Yeah, they're all unavailable now. That's weird.
So the G5 Plus is going to go on sale this month. It's going to cost $229 for the 2 GB, 32 GB storage model. So the base storage is 32 gigs now, which is great. I think that's awesome for a budget phone. I think that's actually like a major improvement. Granted, you still get the micro SD slot if you want to expand it, but I feel like bumping the base storage is a significant plus versus last year's phones.
Yep. And it has, I think, they both have fingerprint sensors now, right? Like even so I mean that's good for people who will buy.
And they have gestures apparently, like you can use the fingerprint sensors kind of a trackpad.
That's cool. So the G5 Plus is Snapdragon 625. Is that it?
Yes. And the smaller one is 430, which is a new chip. I don't know that there are any Snapdragon 430 devices out there. I probably should have checked before I said that. They're very well may be. Let me go ahead and look at that here. Wikipedia actually keeps a great list of all the devices using.
I have that page bookmarked. Super.
Yeah, it's a whoever maintains that page is awesome. So yes, there are already phones with this chip. The LG Stylus 2 Plus, the Xiaomi Redmi 3S, Lenovo K6, and a whole series of Lenovo K6, the Redmi 4, the Zenfone 3 Laser. So there's some phones out there already. I would bet actually probably a Qualcomm employee maintains this page because they do a great job. I wonder if that's actually somebody's job at Qualcomm, like, one day a week, go in and update the I wouldn't be surprised if like one of their blogger people does it, because they're very fastidious in keeping that page up to date. It's a good resource. So I feel like in America, the G5 Plus will still probably be like easily best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Value to features.
Yeah. If you want like a $200 and somewhat phone, I'm sure it'll be the best one.
Yeah. Internationally, I think it's got a harder sell than it has in years past. You do get NFC, but I don't know. The chipset and stuff, I guess it depends how they price it in other markets. And then there's the standard G5, which, well, seems to kind of be the Moto E now. I don't. It kind of seems like maybe the Moto E is dead. I'm not really sure, because it's pretty basic model.
Yeah, well, but Motorola software still, even after Lenovo has failed to basically improve anything the entire time they've owned the company, it's still better than what you get from most other OEMs.
Yeah, that's true. So I think that rounds out kind of the major stuff from MWC. The next topic we wanted to broach was a big announcement from YouTube this week, that YouTube is getting into the subscription TV business. And I think I'll let Cody kind of take it away on the service there, because I actually, being at MWC, I didn't even read about this, so I'm totally in the dark.
So this has been rumored for ages and ages, but YouTube is basically doing a live TV. It's kind of targeted at cable cutters. For $35 a month, you'll have access to all the major networks: ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC. You'll get ESPN. I know I'm forgetting one of the majors. And there's a bunch of other sports channels, a few other networks. It's basically what people have been asking for a long time. It also has unlimited cloud DVR service up to kind of like the what's it called? YouTube Red. You can have up to 6 total family members, yourself included in that 6, will have access to anything you've recorded. Or I think, actually, now that I think about it, it doesn't talk about privacy. So I don't know if there's like rules regarding.
It has their own separate DVR box.
Because that could get a little awkward if you're recording something from like late night on one of those channels.
Porn. We're talking about porn.
You get some racy Showtime shows.
There you go.
But we should point out, like, this does not include Red. Like, that's a completely separate thing.
I
know, which is dumb.
Okay. Yeah. This is actually a weird thing, because confusing in a very fundamental way. You have access to YouTube Red originals. So the stuff that was a big like exclusive
the
feature of
stuff that
YouTube
people
Red.
don't watch.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's fair.
We'll have access to that, but you won't have
like any of the ad-free
YouTube Red.
stuff.
You won't have
or-
the background playback
Yeah,
or offline storage features. So all the stuff that you like. Oh, and of course, play music. You won't have any of those features. You'd have to pay for those separately. So to get that,
you're basically looking at $45 a month if you want like all of the YouTube stuff. If you want like the super premium version of YouTube, that's what it'll cost you every month.
talking about for one person. If you're talking about for family, it's what, 15 for families on YouTube Red?
YouTube Red, yeah.
So yeah, $50 a month for
Which
more than
I
one
mean
person.
isn't bad. Like I mean, just based on the list of channels that they offer, like I mean, I might subscribe to this because we don't have cable TV because like I don't want to pay $100 and some odd a month to get like the handful of channels that I would actually watch. But like a lot of them are on this. So and like the cloud DVR thing is pretty rad.
Yeah.
You can set as many schedules as you want, or at least I know I saw that somewhere. And yeah, I agree. Like if you're a cable cutter and you wanted something that was basically normal TV, but to a cable company and some of the weird stuff you have to go through this totally makes sense, especially because this gives you sports.
Yeah, I mean, like for like sports people, like they have ESPN 1, 2, and 3. Like you can watch bocce ball or whatever.
They don't have
on
the
ESPN
Ocho?
3.
If
but,
only.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And the only thing that gives me some pause is Google did say that they will roll it out, in select markets, and you can sign up to be notified when it comes to your area. So I am concerned that it's going to take a long time to actually show up widely.
So there's a reason behind that, and it makes me curious if there might be some misinformation kind of from YouTube's side. The reason for that is they deals with local TV networks, so you're not only getting all the big networks, you also get your locals.
Yeah, they have to work
get
out
that logic.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh, go ahead.
I just, like, I would still consider paying something for this if it didn't have the local channels. I mean, I would still, I would consider it. I just wish that we had some sort of guidance about how long until this was going to happen.
Yeah, that would help. I have one other problem, and this is actually the big catch that makes me kind of not want it. There's no back catalog. So you can set your DVR to record as much as you want, but if, let's say, you forgot to schedule recording of, I don't know, the first episode of a season of something.
So there's no on demand, basically.
Yeah, that's not there. And without that, man, it suddenly becomes incredibly less useful.
Yeah. Okay, but who's probably pretty frantic about this whole thing existing is Sling TV.
Oh,
Netflix too, but Sling TV specifically because this is their business model, but like way better.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, okay. So the cloud DVR thing, I think that's the value sell here. That you can record as much TV as you want, and like it doesn't matter. I think that's great. The lack of on demand is predictable. Yeah. I think that's that is what it is because you have to negotiate new rights for on demand, and then you have to go through the on demand's not just as simple as broadcasting a live channel or recording it, and that gets messy real fast. I wonder though if this will give you access to any of the on-demand apps for those networks.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Maybe though. I mean, I'd be surprised.
It would be a lot more compelling if it did.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of those operate that way specifically to get you to pay a lot for cable TV. So
that's true.
I don't know if they would like that.
Yeah. I'm curious about that. The other thing is for families, this is a good value. Yeah. For not families, no, it's not. $35 a month, I can get the stupid triple play package from my, ISP granted with reduced internet speeds for $100 a month, and that's less than I'm paying for my internet right now alone. So it doesn't really ring true on value in that sense. I could have like a ton of channels. Granted, I'm not going to watch most of them, but I like some aspects of this, but in others, like I'm definitely not showing out $35 a month for this. Even if I cancel my Hulu and stuff, it's just not happening.
It's gonna. I mean, I think that the like whether or not I'll actually get this will depend on like how what the app support is like. I mean, if I can watch this on with a Chrome, like with my Chromecast and my Android TV and on my computer, and like on the phone, like with an app, like that could be cool because, I mean. At least where I live, like I have my cable choice is Comcast, and their apps are kind of not good, and like they don't have Chromecast support in their stuff, and they don't have Android TV apps. So like my whole watching things ecosystem is based around those products. So it's not really super helpful to me. But if YouTube TV supports that, then I would be more willing to give that a shot.
So I'll just jump in and say it's already confirmed. It works on Android, iOS, Chromecast, and any Chromecast compatible stuff. So that's already clear. And they don't say specifically, but I assume have support for it.
Oh, you would think so.
Yeah. Optimistic.
Yes, optimistically speaking, yes. Yeah, this has been ruined for a long time. I remember writing an article about this like a while back, like a long while back. So I guess they really were working on it.
Well, the one thing that is curious to me, because something that has been older than this, there's been so much talk about it, was the like Netflix style service from Play Movies. And I know from teardowns, that's something that is real. It hasn't been launched yet, obviously, but I know for a fact they at least implemented some parts of that. It's just
it
really
could just be the rights negotiations did not go.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I mean Netflix the thing about Netflix and services like that is they constantly have to dump content. Like where the deal expires, they're looking at the income or the amount of views and weighing it against the cost of the license. They say, nope, got to cut that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Netflix is spending so much more on their own original programming now.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely a point. And honestly, I don't know if I'm close to canceling my Netflix, but I'm getting there because a lot of the content does seem to go away, the old content, and then the original content. Yeah, I can only watch so many comedy specials, man.
Yeah, I very rarely watch those. Yeah, I wish they would focus a little bit more on their efforts. Like, there are some things that work very well. Like their drama series are usually pretty good. The Marvel series are pretty good, but then they produce a bunch of just like garbage that I'm never going to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I think Amazon has a lot of flops on Prime Originals, but they try a lot of different things. I feel like Netflix seems to kind of put a lot of eggs in a basket and hope it, kind of runs away. And I think that's kind of been to their detriment a little bit on the original content side. Granted, Amazon's #1 original content series is the Grand Tour, which is not very good. So, although I think a lot of people like The Man in High Castle, which I haven't watched. Has anybody watched that?
I watched the first season. I have not watched the second one yet.
Yeah, I've heard the production value goes way up in the second one.
Interesting.
Because that's Amazon's kind of issue, I think, with a lot of their original content, is production values are not as high as Netflix.
Yeah. Well, Netflix has been throwing money at it kind of like HBO does, so they don't really set low budgets.
Yeah, that is true. But I think the problem with this YouTube service will be that almost certainly it'll have no commercial visibility. Nobody's going to know this exists. That's probably going to be their real problem there. Yeah. It sounds like a good idea. I'm just not sure it's quite done.
This is unrelated, but you said a keyword that immediately popped to mind. I do have a question about this. I mean, it's funny because you kind of think there wouldn't be, like reflexively you expect there won't be, but if this is live broadcast, there's commercial breaks in all of the shows that are going to be on. There's gaps where you've got to fill, and naturally
Yeah, I assume that there will be commercials. You know,
It'll be all
assume-
pixel ads.
I mean,
Yeah,
you would just get whatever is provided by the network, I would think.
I'm not
Probably,
sure
yeah.
about that.
Because like they're
I-
getting like the local channels and everything. Like I can't imagine that they would negotiate a deal that did not include the advertising for those channels.
I don't know. That's a good question. I am curious to see how that will work as well.
But I mean,
Well-
what would be great is if when you DVR'd something, Google used its magical machine learning to take out the commercials.
that would be neat. So, well, even if so, they might do the regular advertising, but most of these networks also create breaks intentionally for like local networks and stuff like that to advertising. And even those breaks, like I'm kind of
Maybe
wondering,
Google
will
would
YouTube fill
be-
those?
Maybe Google would be like, we're the local network now. Here are our ads in these spaces.
That would be interesting, and definitely tons of pixel ads.
Yeah. But you know what? If you're watching,
What we're saying is we want pixel ads.
it should show you something else if you're watching it on a Pixel. You don't need to be sold on the concept.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for this week. So thank you for listening, everybody. If you have feedback about the show, you can send it to podcasts@androidpolice.com. We do enjoy reading your emails, no matter what they say, as long as it's like literate English. I can't know if I'm enjoying something if it's in a language I don't speak, but I guess I can appreciate the effort. So again, if you do want to give us feedback, it's podcast@androidpolice.com. You could also call us at 530-HELLO-AP. Though it's probably just easier to email. You should probably just email if you want to talk to us. But yes, so thank you again for listening, everybody, and have a good night. Or day or morning, whatever time it is. I'm not really sure when you're listening. I don't want to judge.
Hey, David, I have a very important question about MWC.
But
Did you collect the pins, and how many did you collect?
so you know how much time I spent on the show floor, Liam?
Hours and hours and hours.
Like 40 minutes.
Damn.
I didn't do the pins. I thought about it, but then I was like, so now that we were post podcast, we were mostly shooting video there, and I was working with Facundo, like doing scripting, coming up with ideas, shooting and narrating and stuff. And so most of my mental energy was expended on making that work, and then writing the hands-on posts I had to do.
I would like to have recommended a scavenger hunt video where the point of the video is running around finding pins.
Oh my God. I wonder how many Ron got, because I think Ron probably got all of them again, because he did a post on ours today about navigating the 8.4 million square feet of MWC. So I'm pretty
Yes.
sure that's what Ron did.
He most likely did.
I'm sure he did. I bet he got
But
all
the
of them.
pins are so cool. The pin bounty.
I'm sure ours had enough people on site that he could go and wander around to get pins.
I think ours only brings probably 2, maybe 3 people there. I don't think they bring that many. It's mostly Ron, actually. Ron's kind of the central
Is he
coverage
just like
point
really
there.
fast or what?
Ron does walk really fast.
He also has like a very dangerous and scary battery pack, so he can go anywhere.
He does. He does have a very dangerous and scary battery pack. Yeah. So we looked at the stuff at like Google's booth at MWC really briefly. They had the smoothie station they've had in years past where you high five somebody and they give you a smoothie.
That's awesome.
Um,
Wait,
yeah,
did they have
nice.
nougat?
Yes, they had a nougat shake.
Did you? Oh,
I did not get the nougat shake.
what
I got
about-
like the mocha madness or something.
David,
about-
you skipped all the cool stuff.
And we looked at like so I wanted to get like, because they were doing the tote bags again this year where you Androidify yourself and then you like take it to the tote bag station and they screen print it
Yes.
for you. But my Androidify guy never printed out because the printer broke.
Oh.
And so I didn't get one. So that was lame.
You don't have any
Wow.
souvenirs from your time at
There's
The one
also
cool
like
thing he tried to do.
there's also like a little cart that was themed for Android messages. And there were
Nice.
people from Jibe there to talk about RCS.
How is it?
Awesome.
How is it themed? Were there
Um,
stickers?
I don't think so.
was it so that okay was that this is an important question, was that cart like as it like went through the show floor, was there like a trail of passed out sleeping people behind it because RCS is that boring?
There were
I
some
thought you were
Google
gonna-
executives around it. Like I recognize some names, I feel like. But other than that, no. There's also like there's a space for Daydream, and then there was like a space for Google Assistant. And I think that's really it. I don't think there's like a little area for Pixel or anything, which I found odd. It was only the Android team representing there, not Pixel.
I thought you were gonna ask if there was like a trail of other carts, like the train at the zoo or something.
Like
But
the Allo
each-
cart and the Hangouts cart.
Yeah, like
and
each
the
cart is a
Duo
different
cart.
communications product.
They form like a little wagon train.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the Google Voice cart, like the guy is like confused but doesn't know where he is. He's like running to catch up to everybody else.
The Google
They
Voice
form a
cart has
circle
like
to-
it's like 7 wheels.
To entrap the
And then-
vulnerable tech journalist.
And then somewhere walking around in the middle is a super depressed cart for Google Spaces.
No, the Google Spaces cart burned down.
Yeah. I don't know if you caught that, but Spaces has officially
Yeah.
been
It's
killed.
dead, yeah.
Yeah, Spaces is dead. Other than that, no, we didn't look too close. Google had like a big private booth for meetings. Apparently, there was a journalist meeting with Rick Osterloh, which we weren't invited to. Which that was nice.
Shocker.
He
Surprising.
preemptively knew that you were gonna call him out on Twitter.
I know. That was very annoying. So let's talk about so the whole thing. Like he said to TechCrunch, there will not be any more Google branded laptops.
Yeah.
Like he said those words.
And then he's tweeting like, no, it's like has been reported, like it's everybody else's fault that he said those words.
Yeah, don't believe the words I said. Believe the words I'm saying. I guess he probably clearly either didn't know it exists or something has changed or he just got confused. I don't know. So it's unclear if we'll see the Google laptop now, but
I
it probably won't be Pixel branded. I would
Both
bet
things
that's what
could
it
be
is.
true at once.
Yes, it'll be a Nexus laptop. They're
It
just
could
completely,
be-
they're just gonna
that
completely
would be
screw with
awesome.
us. Like, okay,
could-
guys, here's the new Nexus.
It could be that there were no plans, and then a couple days later there were plans.
That could
Google.
happen.
Always changing plans.
That would be a very googly thing to do.
Yes. Yeah. So other than that, I was trying to think if there's anything cool at the show. Not really. I mean, we weren't invited. Well, we were invited to Nokia, but I didn't go because these phones are being sold in America.
Yeah.
And honestly, I know Ron raved about them because like they do stockish Android, but they're overpriced for what they are. The Nokia 6 is definitely too expensive for what it is. Like it's not like ridiculously too expensive, but not fantastic. I think it's like $250, and it's the specs on it are like they're decent, but not amazing. And I don't think they're ever going to come to the US. I think that's pretty unlikely because they're launching the Nokia 6, like they said, globally, which whenever you say that means not America.
This phone will be available internationally. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. And then, okay, so the number one thing at the show, and overall, which we didn't really cover because it's not Android, that stupid fucking Nokia 3310 reboot.
Yeah.
Oh my
I-
God. If I read one more story about this
Dumb
stupid
thing.
phone.
It's everybody thinking like, man, I love that phone. I had it. That's going to be awesome. And then they're going to be like, wait, I actually don't want this at all.
Well, it doesn't work in America because it doesn't support the US bans at all. And I just don't. It's totally nostalgia. It's 100% nostalgia driven.
Okay, I want this to catch on with the hipsters so bad.
I'm sure. So
Like
I am
the
sure,
hardcore-
based on the hype, this is going to be on like Kickstarter within a matter of weeks. Somebody's
yeah.
going to have it, like the classic phone, because somebody already tried this, right? Somebody tried, I think, a few years back to make a like super bare bones phone on Kickstarter. It was like super basic and only
But,
did a
like,
few slick things.
Don't they exist already?
They do, but they're not sexy, Liam. They don't have that Nokia 3310
Are
wistfulness
these?
about them.
Buy a
Liam, it does Snake in 2016. It's so cool.
Yeah, but like,
if you buy like a non-smartphone right now from a carrier, I guarantee you it is going to be a piece of junk.
Yeah, I just But there's no reason to think. I mean, I get this probably won't be a total piece of junk, but it'll probably be way too much money for what it is. No, how many people are like, oh yeah, I definitely need like a backup feature phone in my life. Nobody needs that.
All of the interest, Snake though.
The whole thing is just member berries. Everybody's like, oh, I remember the Nokia 3310. Oh, it's so nice, so indestructible, so cute.
Oh yeah, the indestructible meme. It's like it doesn't go away, and I bet this phone is totally destructible.
Oh, I bet it is too.
Oh, and by the way, if you want right now, you can download a retro Snake 97 emulator on your phone that makes your phone actually look like a 3310.
There you go.
There
Excellent.
you go. That's done.
But
you don't
like throw your 10 like a Nokia, or you throw your phone like a Nokia 3310. That'd be a bad idea. Don't engage in the full experience.
I mean, that phone, like, man, I know people like joke like, oh, it was indestructible, but like that phone could really take some punishment. It was impressive.
Yeah, pretty impressive what we can do with like a really thick piece of like PCB plastic. You know,
like
just
it was just like
Okay.
like layers of plastic.
I found the app. It's called Classic Snake Nokia 97 Old.
I was actually looking at a different one, so there are a lot of them. Let's just say that.
I just like Nokia 97 Old.
The one I'm looking at is called Snake 97 Retro Phone Classic.
So in other words, there are tons of these. Yeah. Almost definitely. That's nice.
This one has multiple different phones though, so I'm this one. I mean, obviously, like this is the one that I want.
So fancy. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. Everybody talked about 5G and MWC, but honestly, like
that's where all the sleeping people were. Everybody was just asleep around that.
Yes, everybody was definitely sleeping around 5G. Like everybody had an article about 5G, but like the articles were all the same. What's 5G going to do? It's going to do VR, and it's going to do IoT, and it's going to do the urban connectivity, and it's going to do fast, and it's going to do.
You forgot AR.
And AR, and it's gonna do e-commerce, and it's gonna do
machine learning,
autonomous cars, machine learning.
Is it going to do PR?
Oh,
it is doing PR. Oh, it's definitely doing PR already. It has best in class PR.
The logo.
I can confirm this just based on a cursory search of my inbox for 5G. Please, seriously, everybody stop. I don't care.
Yeah, Qualcomm had on demo their 5G working prototype modem. It is the size of an ATX motherboard.
Oh God! You know what's gonna? Oh God! I'm having flashbacks to the era of 4G introduction. You know what's gonna happen in a year is a handful of phones are gonna come out with 5G.
Yes.
They're gonna be separate 5G modems. They're gonna run horribly.
Oh no, it's not gonna be that. No. So what's going to happen is this, and I was talking to somebody about this, and it's definitely going to happen this way. So T-Mobile is going to be the first to bastardize 5G. It's absolutely what's going to happen.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the naming thing will happen.
So T-Mobile, there's already this thing 4.5G, which is LTE Advanced Pro, which has features that help transition to 5G. And so what's going to happen is T-Mobile is going to start using Advanced Pro. And I think T-Mobile already confirmed this person. Like, yeah, we're going to start calling this 5G. Like, when we start using it, we're going to call it 5G. Even though it's not 5G.
I had almost forgotten about that era when HSPA Plus was just magically 4G.
And then, so once T-Mobile does it, everybody else is going to take license to do it too.
Geez.
And it's going to be a complete clusterfuck, and 5G is going to lose all meaning. And it's not going to...
we get, but then we get the first 5G phones, and they're going to suck.
But then
maybe.
I
don't think they will that bad, but I don't think like they'll be as revolutionary, because the whole thing with 5G is like the actual like ITU standard won't be completely final until 2020. So we probably won't have like the first like commercial like fully functional 5G radio in a phone till like, at least then. In the meantime, we're going to like these piecemeal features that are part of the 4G standard, the advanced 4G standard, that are probably pretty important, but that are not 5G.
I don't think I ever thought about this before, but is that why we ended up with everybody saying 4G LTE instead of just 4G?
So actually, outside of America, it is just 4G. Everybody decided outside America, 4G is LTE. That's what 4G means, because that's what the fuck we decided it meant. In America, everybody else was like, 4G is whatever you want it to be.
You know what? I remember when that started happening, and then the ITU was like, I guess it could probably mean that. Like, just gave them all a license to be jerks.
And it's going to happen again. It's so going to happen again. It's going to be an issue. I'm sure Sprint and T-Mobile will be right there to swoop in with their 5Gs. It sounds like the actual first application of 5G will be the thing that Verizon and AT&T are trying to do, which is fixed wireless access. So the idea is you will have an antenna on top of your roof that cables down into your house. And the antenna speaks to a local repeater station that has like a range of maybe a square mile. And that repeater station has fiber backhaul. And that goes down to the street. And so you'd have one of these like per square mile in the neighborhood. Sorry, what?
Would it actually be like home internet then?
Yes, that's the idea. It would be a replacement for home internet. And I think it could work. I think that's actually 5G's biggest near-term promise.
Yeah, I mean, make that not capped, and I'm all in.
Oh, yes. There are going to be all sorts of fun and exciting new business models that come along with the 5G revolution.
Because, when I was thinking, we were talking about the YouTube thing. If I do that, I'm going to destroy my Comcast data cap. Like, there's no way.
Oh,
because, Because when you have like a streaming thing like that, there's the tendency to just like leave it on and look for something to watch. It's different than like if you have to seek out, like, I would like to watch this thing on Netflix. Let me watch this thing, and then have to look for another thing. But yeah, I will probably, because I'm already hitting like 700 gigs every month, and yeah, it's gonna be bad.
Yeah. So the first 5G applications will definitely be those ones that like come into your house, and it's easier to do 5G that way because like the equipment needs are such that it's not.
You just have it plugged into power forever, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. So there could be some interesting stuff that goes on there in the unlicensed spectrum. And then the other thing that's probably going to happen in the near term on most of the networks, we're going to see them adopt something called, it's not LTE-U, it's a successor to it. It's very similar to LTE-U, but the idea is that it's, God, I forget what the acronym is. There's so many LTE acronyms now. But LTE-U was something that debuted in South Korea and Russia initially, I think, like 3 years ago, long time ago. And the idea is you would use spectrum that Wi-Fi sits in the 5 gigahertz area. And so LTE-U, the thing was, though, you had to like custom configure your modem to make sure like that it wasn't going to fuck with Wi-Fi signal in your region, because that would be bad. So the newer specification of it is designed to internationally not fuck with Wi-Fi. I think that's technical language.
Is that what does the acronym? Like if you just take the letters from that, is that what it is?
It probably is. That's probably it. So I think that's one of the next big things we're going to see carriers roll out, because the idea there is that you can use unlicensed spectrum to take load off the network in areas. So that's probably going to be one of the next big things. And I would not be surprised if advancements in that area get rebranded to 5G, because 5G can work in those areas, and 5G is designed to work in the 5 gigahertz and above realm of frequencies. So it's very loosely related. Granted, 5G is all more about like software-defined networking and virtualization of the network and such, more than it is about the specific like frequencies it communicates on. But yeah. 5G was very much a thing in MWC. Everybody wanted to talk about 5G. Samsung talked about it. Intel talked about it. Qualcomm talked about it. I don't know. Maybe Sega's talked about it. Sega's was there. I didn't go see them. I kind of forgot. Otherwise, I probably would have gone to see them. They did have a booth, though. Somebody showed me a photo. So that was fun.
Would they have really wanted to talk?
Probably, yes. Their CEO person is very confrontational. So yeah, I actually had somebody tell me this kind of theory they had that was all just like the aggressiveness and the like constant like broken promises and making it seem like they're incompetent, but that they're actually trying. It's all just to attract investors. Like that's all they're trying to do.
Yeah,
they don't care about the consumers. They don't.
Say more about this.
The theory wasn't elaborated on too much. I think it's plausible. Like their whole idea is basically, none of them live like extravagant lifestyles. None of them are like getting rich on this. But if they can make enough in investor money to like make a low 6-figure income every year, and they all live in like Utah, so the cost of living is real low. They can live comfortably off of a project that they'll never finish. And then eventually they'll probably just cancel it and then start a new one.
But but like, don't investors look into this?
Yeah, but like,
This,
you know, they're already on like probably like their second round of investment, you know, because they got one for the original one they did back in 2010, and they definitely got some for the V2 too. So yeah, I'm not completely
I mean,
unreceptive to this theory. Sounds like a decent theory.
so well, but like, man, but they like really go all out. Like, they have offices and everything, and like commercials.
Yeah, gotta look legit.
Man, I mean, but this one has been really high profile. Like, if
It's
this
got
goes
high
under,
profile, yeah.
I mean, if this goes under, I can't imagine they're going to be able to just spin it up again.
You know, it's funny. They were at MWC, but they didn't tweet anything about it.
Or anything, right?
No, they had a booth. Yeah, they had a tiny booth in a hall. But their last tweet was on February 14th, so they didn't actually say they were at MWC. They were just there.
They didn't want anybody to know.
That's interesting.
If you had known, would you have swung by?
I assumed they would be there. In fact, I believe I remember hearing about it on their Twitter account like 3 or 4 months ago, but I completely forgot, honestly. I just didn't even think about it.
I think when that phone launches, we should, if it launches, when they finally send out the 3 units that exist, we should do a totally serious review of it.
Totally serious. Yeah, maybe. I still have my doubts that it ever will. I mean, honestly, I'm preparing my April Fool's article already. I'm actually just gonna repost all of the text of last year's article, and then change the year in the body. That'd be good. Yeah. All right. Well, it is getting a little late, so I'm gonna stop the broadcast.